Synergy is one of the most important words and actions when we talk about the success in the Horizon Europe program. So this event is a great example of the synergy amongst the national contact points network. So please welcome my colleagues, Diego Colitore, Judith Bloch, Vaja Pitelli, and Noemi Tesauro, who will introduce you to the 4 national contact points projects, meaning NCP for Industry, Idealist, Cosmos for Horizon, and Net for Society. So, Diego, you can start sharing your slides, and let's start.
Thank you, Davidas. Just 1 second. I find the right window to share, and here you are. Okay, so just a few words about the project, NCP for Industry, that is one of the organizers of this event. We are a EU-funded project by the Commission, and essentially we are the network of the European and associated countries, of course, national contact points of cluster for industry area. So, who we talk with? Essentially, we have like some target group. First of all, the NCPs. Not all the NCPs are part of this project. Let's say the majority. I would say like 80%. But there are also others that, for many reasons, cannot participate to the project. So the main aim is to create like a real network of national contact points that can share information, experiences, and knowledge. Of course, we have different services, I will show you in a bit, that are dedicated to NCPs, but also to stakeholders, to people that want to apply to Horizon Europe Cluster for Industry. So they are another target group. Of course, we talk with the research and innovation communities. This is because they are the main proposer of new projects for the Horizon Europe Cluster for Industry topics. We have a special eye to the newcomers because for a new organization that is interested in Horizon Europe, it's not always easy to find the access to the funding. So we try to help them to overcome these barriers, and we have a daily discussion with the Commission with a reciprocal feedback on how we can improve our services. We offer different kind of services. So we offer assistance at 360 degrees to the proposers through pre-proposal checks. So if you or project idea check. So if you have like a good idea and you want to check if it fits with a certain topic, we can help you in finding the right topic. Of course, we give advices on administrative procedures, contractual issues. We share knowledge through workshop, webinars, and we create also materials to be shared out through our website, that is ncp4industry.com, and our socials. We have also other kind of service, let's say more specific for proposals that are, for instance, the full proposal check. So once you have an advanced draft, we will inform you about through our channels about the opening of this service that will be, let's say, around the end of August, before the industry deadlines. So when you have an advanced draft, you can send it to us, and if it's really advanced, we will send to evaluator to have a pre-evaluation before submission. And from our experience, it's really a good service that can help you to improve your proposal. Of course, we organize matchmaking events, and I will show you in a bit which are the next service and we have also matchmaking, of course, in the next couple of weeks. So on the 14th of May, there was the Cluster 4 Info Days, and together with it, we organized a brokerage event. So the main event was on the 14th, but the platform B2Match is open until the last day of submission. So you can use the platform to find partners if you need for your consortium, or if you are looking for a consortium. In a couple of days, the 27th of May, 5 days, sorry, there will be a presentation of the new partnership about innovative advanced materials, and especially with IMI, that is the association at the basis of this partnership. From the 2nd to the 4th of June, NCP for Industry will be in Krakow for the EU InTech 2025 conference. That is a big conference on industrial technologies organized by the Commission. And we will have like a series of activity. You will find a booth where we will be like all the day. But on the 3rd, all day, there will be an on-site matchmaking for those organizations who are interested in the industrial topic. In August, let's say end of August, we will open the platform for the full proposal check. So what I explained a few moments ago. And by now, these are the main events we are organizing before the end of the project. That will be at the end of August. But the good news is that from the 1st of September, you will still have NCP for Industry with a simple new name, that is NCP for Industry Plus. We will organize same activities and more, and so you will be advertised through our channel on our next activities. That's all from my side. So, Davidas, please give the floor to the next one. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And I am giving the floor to my colleague Judith Bloch. And colleagues, please be as short as possible with the main things about the projects. So, Judith, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So hello everyone, and thank you for organizing this joint event. I'm Judith Bloch from the Israel Innovation Authority, and I am the coordinator of the Idealist Network. And since I only have 2 minutes to present it, I will try to keep it very short. So Idealist is the official NCP network for digital part of Cluster 4. Like NCP for Industry, we support both NCPs and proposers, but with a specific focus on digital topics. Idealist has been active since 1996, and we're soon celebrating 30 years of collaboration. So the current Idealist runs until end of August, and the next one will start in September with an expanding network of 33 partners. And like NCP for Industry, our main objective is to improve the quality, relevance, and impact of digital proposal. To do so, we invest in the digital NCP community with training, webinars, and internet exchanges, and through our ambassador scheme, connecting NCPs with the key European partnerships like ChipGU, Photonics, NCNS, and many others. Like other NCP networks, Idealist supports proposers with a large range of services like idea checks, proposals review, full proposal checks, matchmaking events, toolbox, and online courses. But what makes Idealist unique is the topic tree, a visual user-friendly tool we developed to help NCPs and proposers quickly find the right topic. It covers all digital calls from Horizon Europe and Digital Europe, and lets the user explore past calls, partners, and synergies. A new version is now online, so if it can help you, give it a try. And before handing over to Vaya from Cosmos, just a quick note on the next digital opportunities. So as Diego mentioned, the 3 brokerage platforms for Cluster 4 are open. The digital brokerage platform will remain open for partner search until October 2, so the digital calls deadlines. In early July, we will join a major ICT event in Denmark, where Idealist will organize workshops and on-site brokerage events in collaboration with EEN and Deep for All. And in September, we will run another session of full proposal check, so 1 month before the deadline. So stay connected, and I think I managed to stay on time. So thank you for your attention, and Vaya, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Judith, very much. And Vaya, the floor is yours now to present the Cosmos for Horizon project, also very interesting and very relevant. So I see your slides and you can start.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Judith. I won't go into details. The Cosmos for Horizon Europe project is the NCP network for the thematic area of space, Cluster 4. We are in a consortium of 15 partners, and we started as a network even since Framework Program 7. We have similar objectives and activities as NCP for Industry and Idealist, mainly to enhance the knowledge and experience of space NCPs and support applicants through various activities such as trainings, info days, and matchmaking events, and also development of new material. I would like to focus on the current opportunities for the applicants. We have a networking platform open for the current calls. The starting date was 19th of May, but the platform will remain open until the deadline of the calls. So you can still register and seek for partners, arranging bilateral meetings for the space calls. And on 3rd of June, we are organizing in Warsaw an on-site info day and brokerage event, also pitch session and panel discussions for the space thematic area. You can still register and join us, and we also offer travel grants for applicants who are interested to travel outside from Poland. As a general information on our website, you can find news, information about events and also materials, such as the guidelines for newcomers, supporting less experienced applicants to catch up with space thematic area, and also an analysis tool showing participation and giving data in order to better understand the landscape in space thematic area. And stay connected with us on our website and our LinkedIn account, and you can certainly email us for more. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vaya. And last but not least, please, Noemi, present the network, which is very related to the SSH oriented calls. So, Noemi, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I will try to stay in time. I'm Noemi Tesauro from APRE, but I'm here today, as David has said, on behalf of Network Society, which is the international network of national contact point for Cluster 2. As you can see from the slides, we offer services and tools for a national contact point for Cluster 2 applicants, but also, let's say, we have a specific attention to the social humanities research community, also beyond Cluster 2, and to applicants from widening countries. Network Society has three main objectives: increasing the capacity of Cluster 2 NCPs to deliver high quality services, supporting applicants, especially from new stakeholder communities and widening country, as I said before, and ensuring the integration of social sciences in a project funded under Horizon Europe. All three of these objectives are translated into a series of specific and tailored activities depending on the target audience. For example, we offer a range of training and information activities for Cluster 2 NCPs, such as capacity building session. And in parallel, we also organize dedicated initiatives for applicants, including pre-proposal check and sharing of success stories, events, newsletter, and so on and so forth. As well as sorry, this is I will okay. As well as providing tools and services aimed at enhancing the competencies of NCPs and facilitating the participation of potential applicants into Cluster 2. We also have a specific focus, as I mentioned before, on SSH integration. Indeed, we have a dedicated work package on this. So the network, according to this purpose, the network has developed a series of activities and tools supporting these, let's say, this scope. So, for example, as you can see from the slides, Network Society carries out, I don't know, specific SSH integration training devoted to Cluster 2 and non-Cluster 2 NCPs. We also carry out a mapping of SSH opportunities across our cluster and SSH funding opportunities in other initiatives such as the European Partnership. Both of these information are published either in the SSH opportunities document, which is a document collecting all information on SSH opportunities across cluster that is published yearly. Instead, the SSH opportunities in Horizon Europe Partnership are published monthly on our website. Beside this, we also organize specific SSH brokerage events and SSH expert workshop, which are a series of workshops on SSH integration addressing both SSH and STEM researcher and NCPs from the various Horizon Europe cluster. The important things about this SSH expert workshop that are organized in collaboration with the European Commission. And then, yeah, this is the last slide. Here you have our contacts and the QR code to our website where you can find more information about the network. The very last point, as the previous network, as the previous network, also Network Society as a networking platform, which is available all year long, where you can register and get in touch with other participants. That's all from my side.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So, yep. So, of the NCP projects, and I encourage everyone to take the opportunity to connect with these networks and benefit. And now, I'm delighted to introduce Dr. Royal van Overmeyre, SSH Policy Coordinator at DG RTD, European Commission. And in this presentation, he will shed light on the role of SSH in Horizon Europe, which with the and industrial innovation. So I'm very pleased to have him with us today. So Dr. van Overmeyre, the floor is yours, please.
Good morning, everybody. Wait. Can you see it?
Yes, everything is okay. You can start.
Thank you for inviting us today. So I'm replacing my head of unit, Harriet van Eyl, who would be presenting this. But as I'm in charge of SSH integration, it also made more sense that I would provide presentation. So today I'm shortly going to describe the role of SSH in Horizon Europe. So first of all, why is SSH integration important? Research and innovation societal challenges are often very complex because the world itself is, of course, complex, and a technological innovation is often not taken into account the complexity of how societies work. So what the integration of SSH disciplines in R&I projects, and specifically here for Cluster 4 projects, can do is create a stronger societal impact in the sense that you can take into account end users who are important for, of course, the use of technology and use for whatever is produced during projects. You have a broader citizen engagement where you know what people actually want. You can actually include also people from the population you want to target into your project itself, and it's sort of co-creation attempt. You have more competitiveness because you take into account economic factors, which is also a very important part of SSH integration, and which is of course also important for development of AI, but not only AI, but anything you can think of, any form of technology, any form of kind of applied science. So all these aspects generally are better, create a better and stronger research for Europe. It makes a better Horizon project, and it just creates a better R&I policy in general. So shortly, some examples of SSH integration. I think the best example was during COVID, where you had, on the one hand, the creation of vaccines, but on the other hand, of course, you need to make sure that people not only wanted to take those vaccines, but at the same time also still adhered to public measures during COVID. I think social health sciences really shed light on what factors played a role in there, and also played an important part in actually making sure that we knew beforehand what would be reasons why people wouldn't want the vaccines. For AI, it's very important for ethical reasons, but also cultural and linguistic reasons. I think that the new AI, I've forgotten the name, from Elon Musk, really shows why it's important that these SSH disciplines are integrated into the development of AI, because else you get AI that's gives actually raw information. And for example, that's also a very real example where diabetes treatments get developed, but we also know that diabetes is most common in migrant populations. But often these diabetes treatments get developed without ever taking into account that it's actually migrant populations who have to mainly take them. Which often means that many of these treatments actually never find their end users. So they exist, but in this vacuum that never connects with people who would be using it. So cluster 4 is mainly aimed at building competitive digital low carbon and circular industries, ensuring sustainable supply of raw materials, developing advanced materials, and providing the base for advances and innovation in global challenges to society. So we've taken two examples now to kind of show how this integration could work in cluster 4. The first one is actually a project that will be discussed later in this workshop. So I'll go over it kind of quickly, but here you have the share space where you actually have this virtual reality kind of thing, meeting SSH, in the sense of figuring out how this AI human interaction, what that means for end users. So you have actually a lot of humanities here. You have the philosophy around it, you have ethics, but you also have the cultural anthropology that's important to really figure out how this technology is connected with end users. Another example is, for example, mementos, which was strictly speaking in cluster 2, but I felt it was also appropriate for cluster 4 here, is where basically musea and IT work together to create interactive stories for visitors of musea. So you have three aspects there. You have, first of all, the historians who want to tell a historical story. They provide the historical facts, etc. And you have the IT experts there also who develop this story based on and actually create technology that makes it doable for a museum to do that. Because it's not just making a game; it's actually making something that's doable to see in a museum. And on the other hand, you also have a legal basis, but because of course you need to make sure that these games or this immersive game that is being created is following the rules. For example, if there's too much bloodshed, if there's rape in this game, you actually can't do that because children will see it. So you have two humanities disciplines and one very STEM discipline, all working on an equal level. Besides as looking at SSH integration and helping with it, we also monitor it. So that's together with Net for Site and Apre, who are here as well today. And we are building now, actually putting the final word on the first monitoring report. So this first one will cover 2021 to 2023, where we will actually look how the efforts of promoting SSH integration into Horizon Europe have helped so far. The second one will be in 2028, where we'll cover the rest of the period. For cluster 4, I can say, without already giving all the details, of course, because we aren't allowed to publish those yet, but the share of SSH partners is around 15% for projects funded under SSH topics, which would indicate in a way that we would need more efforts for SSH integration. But of course, SSH integration in itself is not a goal in itself. It needs to make sense. And with the projects I just have shown, it does make sense to have SSH there. Finally, just some links. We're still, of course, looking for experts. And if you have any questions on flagging and SSH integration, because this is a very short presentation, of course, but if you have any questions on it, you can always contact us on the shared mailbox, and then me or one of my colleagues will help with that. In addition, we also, of course, are always looking for best practice examples for SSH integration, finding out what holds people back of applying SSH integration. So 2 questions from us for you would be, what are the struggles you face in finding SSH aspects in a topic? And what would you consider to be a good balance between STEM and SSH? And finally, I think the floor is open for questions, hopefully, if we still have time.
Yeah, we right on the schedule, but I think that we can spend a bit of time to just ask questions and just to answer to them if it's okay to you. So thank you for this great presentation and overview from the point of view of the European Commission, of course. And if I may, we still don't have questions in the chat, but I have some questions from the audience that registered to this event. So the first one is more like an overview. In your opinion, what are the key enablers that make SSH integration successful in collaborative projects? So it's a quite broad question, of course,
Yes.
but maybe just the first thoughts, you know.
That there are several aspects to make inside a project when this project is already started to make it a success, because what often, of course, happens is that SSH goes on its own island and it has its own specific work package, and all the rest is, for example, for STEM or vice versa. What I would say are good from what we've seen in the examples and people we've interviewed is that you need to have a shared goal first in mind. You need to have the shared goal should always go above everything. You have a project written out and it has a specific goal. And it has happened that people need to, every discipline, of course, has its own motivations of being there. But in the end, it should always be secondary to the primary goal of the project. Secondly, the main problem in a lot of projects is that SSH, which is already a very broad term because we were talking about economics, philosophy, already 2 disciplines that don't have that much in common. versus really STEM oriented disciplines, is that there's a problem of not having a shared language. And I think that is the major problem in SSH STEM cooperation, where you have all these disciplines and they all have their own ideas of what concepts are, or not even working a lot with concepts. So beginning with the project and the people you hire for the project, it's important to take into account that you need someone or that understands both sides, or secondly, that you have a lot of meetings of explaining both sides. I think that is the main key for good SSH integration. So I would say, one, having a real clear shared goal in mind from the start, and two, having someone who can basically translate that. Either you hire someone for that, like one project actually did, they hired someone specifically who knew the side of social science, and on the other side, the side of criminology, no, not criminology, of AI, who knew both sides of it and could interpret for both disciplines, actually.
Thank you very much. We have some comment in the chat. You can read it, of course, later. Thank you very much for that, to Linda Vernier. Two last questions from a practical point of view. First of one, I just will read because it's from the audience. Are SSH experts going to be involved in the drafting of topics in STEM fields in the future to ensure a more detailed description of expected SSH contribution? And the second one, a bit related, how are the evaluators trained in SSH? So could you elaborate a bit about this?
So for the topics, we actually are trying to do more. We actually have that coming up without giving too much details about, where we will go through topics and see how we can further expand on the SSH elements that might be possible in that project. So we know that in Horizon 2020, and also actually early in Horizon Europe, we had the standard phrase of integration of SSH is important in this topic, without giving too much details. So we will go further into that, of trying to provide more direction into what could be it. But at the same time, we also need to be careful of not being too prescriptive. Which is always a difficult balance to make. But so as answer to that question, I would say yes, we are trying to expand on what the role of SSH will be in the topic description of STEM projects. The second one is actually for the SSH experts. So first of all, like I said in presentation, we always need more SSH experts. So if you feel inclined to become an SSH expert, it would be great. For the evaluation, we generally have for every SSH flag topic one SSH expert, which again is very broad, of course, because you can ask the question: is an economist able to evaluate a project that has ethics in it, or philosophy, or whatever, a field that's far away from economics? But we do try to have an SSH expert in every panel that takes into account projects that might be funded under SSH flagged topics.
Thank you very much. And we have one question in the chat, and it has 2 likes, so we need to ask this question, and then probably we will wrap up with this discussion, because we need to already go to the panel discussion. The question: could you please give any advice in regards on how to approach the creation of a methodology in order to integrate SSH in the programs? Yeah, so
that's a very, of course, that's a very difficult question, because it really depends on the project. Like I said, I don't think SSH integration in itself should be a goal, but there are projects where it makes more sense. Of course, the methodology itself, I do think do not confuse the evaluators. It's always best to have your STEM methodology and then your SSH methodology. The methodology itself should probably be described separately. However, the actual execution of the project should also, of course, then be the integration of both. I know that's a difficult balance to make, but for methodology, I would always argue to separate as much as possible, because the evaluation of it will probably happen on one for the STEM part of someone with a STEM background, on the SH part with someone with SH background. If you mix them up too much, I would say it's for evaluation not ideal. However, in a more general sense, the creation, again, that's very difficult because it really requires you sitting together with SSH experts and STEM experts together and trying to find a common field, which is the difficulty you will encounter either way in an SSH STEM project. So it is actually already best to have it long beforehand. But very specific advice I cannot give you on that, to be honest. But so again, that's also something that we are trying to look forward to do better. We have the SSH integration guide made together with Net for Society. We have several tools online, but we are trying to keep looking forward of how to pinpoint how we can do this better. So it's a very difficult question, but it's also we don't have a clear answer for that. So my apologies for that, but it's the most honest answer I could give.
Thank you very much for your presentation and your answers to the questions that are very, very relevant from the audience. So there are, I guess, one question in the chat. If you have a chance to just comment on this question, it would be nice and great. And of course, if you want also to join the panel discussion or just have a say, also you are welcome. So thanks again once more. It's very valuable to us, to the community, to hear the voice of the European Commission. And okay, let's continue now with the panel discussion. Industry meets SSH, transforming challenges into opportunities. So may I kindly ask only the panelists now to turn on their cameras at this point, as we are about to begin the discussion. Yeah, and please, in the next hour, we will explore now how SSH can meaningfully contribute to innovation in Horizon Europe. And I'm very happy, and we are very happy that we are joined by a distinguished panel of experts who bring a range of insights from academia, policy, and practical collaboration. So let's begin by briefly introducing them. Please welcome the panelists of this discussion. Professor Murray Pittock, co-chair of the Scottish Arts and Humanities Alliance, member of the European Alliance for Social Sciences and Humanities Board, Pro-Vice Principal of the University of Glasgow, Professor Didier Struike, Scientific Director of the Augmented Vision Department at the German Research Center for Artificial Intelligence, also Professor of Computer Science at the Reinhold-Plasische Technische Universität in Germany, Ms. Giulia Campodonico, Head of Project at the European Network of Living Labs, Ms. Noemi Tesauro, Natural Society Project Representative and member of the Competence Team Horizons Europe Cluster 2 and Cluster 4 at APRIA, and finally Dr. Rasa Rotomskina, innovation expert at the Lithuanian Confederation of Industrials. So could you please just switch your screen that I could see you? I only now see Ms. Noemi Tesauro and Professor Murray Pittock. Yeah, let me just see. Great. Thank you very much. We can just start. Okay, so there was a lot of said before this panel discussion from the European Commission, also about the purpose of this event. Basically, let's try to spend this 45 minutes to hour just discussing about the main things related to the SSH-oriented projects, challenges, and again, benefits. My first question would be to all of you maybe about what is holding us back. So from your experience, what are the biggest hurdles in integrating SSH perspective into industrial and digital research and innovation? So yeah, it's a quite, of course, broad question, but maybe Professor Pitok, you could start with this.
Delighted to start, David Essen. Thank you for asking me this morning. So I think I just put this in very large framed terms, but I think people can probably identify with some of what I'm saying. Hopefully, the first is, I think, the culture of SSH itself internally, what I've called elsewhere the European bison model. That is, leave us alone to be ourselves. There are various subspecies. We don't particularly want to interact, and we want to define ourselves in a way which exaggerates the differences between us. So, and I think that is the first issue which is problematic. The second is that this actually results even across sectors. For example, in maximizing new forms of visualization, VR cultural heritage and the like, there's across economies, there's actually a mismatch quite often between the research conceptualization of one sector, maybe in higher education, and the timescales of another sector, maybe in the GLAM sector, which moves yet more slowly, and the speed of movement doesn't align with either the political or the funders' demands or expectations. So that even within social science humanities, there are different timescales. This leads to two unfortunate outcomes. And one of them is that the handmaiden approach, that is that SSH is incorporated as a support network or an afterthought or something which is, as Roel just put it, isn't absolutely essential. And it's key that it's essential from the beginning. And the last, which is a big risk, I think, now with the imperatives of Framework Programme 10, is that political misunderstanding of what SSH can contribute leads to its exclusion when there's a huge focus on particular issues, for example, security and competitiveness. And that's really unfortunate because, again, as Roel suggested in the medical example, and there are many others, because research in SSH is all about people, and people are part of every research question, and people determine which research questions are important. The nature of the framing of experience that is measured in STEM or that STEM regards as prioritized and important is all prioritized by people. And if you don't understand the basis of that, then you don't understand why you've chosen what you've chosen and why you haven't chosen something else. And so it's a fundamental issue, but all the things that are holding us back are the things that prevent us having a single approach and being able to think laterally and to present ourselves as thinking laterally and having the ability to provide interrogations and bases for examination of what constitute the right frames for questioning and why there are areas, for example, of low adoption in particular STEM outcomes.
Thank you very much, Professor Pitok, from your initial thoughts and very deep opinion on this question. I would like to ask Professor Didier Struike, could you complement Professor Murray Pitok, or just maybe do you have any other thoughts to add to this? So please.
Yes. You mean about the biggest hurdles in integrating SSH? Yes. So maybe my position is, my background is purely technical. So I'm a professor in AI, and yes, also coordinator of the project ShareSpace that you introduced very quickly. So my perspective is I think we are in a new situation since several years because of the development of AI that suppose introduce a lot of new questions. So development has been huge. The impact is difficult even for us to estimate, to evaluate at the moment. So I think the biggest hurdle was also mentioned before is a problem of understanding and translation. So we know a little bit what's the possibility of AI, what's the capability of AI. When we speak with people from social science, as I say, is another community, we have to find a common ground. What we did, for example, in the project CS space, we started with glossaries, explaining each term concretely, defining each term concretely. Sometimes it was really the same terms with two different definitions. So to bring the people together. So that's, of course, one of the biggest problem, to come to common ground and establish this understanding between the two communities. The second thing, when we develop AI algorithm, AI technology, ethics, of course, is very important. But the perception of the people in technology about ethics, I think, is also very important in order to adopt it. So I think here there are some work to be done as well. So I give you my perception. So there is a different way to have ethics for when we implement a AI project. So either is a list of compliance, a checklist of compliance you have to do, or you develop something which should be perfect in terms of ethics, perfect. And both are complicated in a way, or limiting in a way. That's my impression. We are not really interested in having a checklist. It's very important, of course, but when the technology is very new and when we think about 5-10 years ago, I think we need larger discussion. And also this kind of perfect technology, ethical compliance, is also very difficult to reach. So in ShareSpace, in the project, we try to find other way and try to have another discussion and another approach. That's what we try to do. And maybe I can present that later on. Also, that will be my 2 points, the understanding, but also the perception. And we should go just also beyond this either checklist, perfectionism. We need another dialogue, or it's there sometimes, but I think that's very important.
Thank you very much. It's we already see, and it's very nice to hear that there are some, recipes to somehow manage those hurdles. And again, we'll always have some challenges in this field, but still, it's very nice to hear that there is also possible ways to manage it. And perhaps some brief reactions from Ms. Julia Campodonico, Dr. Rasa Rotomskiene, or Ms. Noemi Tesauro on this question. So just raise your hands or say it bravely, just to complement. Yes, please, Noemi.
Yes. No, I just want to mention some. I totally support what has already been said, indeed, because with Net for Society, we have conducted a series of interviews with STEM and SSH project coordinator working on project founded under SSH flagged topics. And indeed, from this interview, we have identified the 3 main hurdles, let's say, that are in line with what has already been said, namely the mutual misunderstanding. Both SSH and STEM researchers often struggle to fully grasp what kind of contribution each side can bring to a particular to a project. In particular, STEM researchers, especially in technology-driven topics, may perceive SSH contribution as marginal, for example. This is partially due to their mindset. The relevance of SSH dimension and issues may not always be immediately evident to a researcher trained in STEM discipline, for example. On top of that, budget constraints can sometimes make the involvement of SSH researchers seem like an additional complication, something that would make proposal design more complex. And also we have to keep in mind that as STEM and SSH come from completely different worlds, speak different languages, and working together takes some time. I saw in the chat that there was also a mention to these time constraints too. And on the other hand, SSH researchers, perhaps due to certain bias, for example, tend to show little interest in topics outside cluster 2 or in projects with a strong technological approach. Another key point to consider is how SSH involvement, maybe it's framed within the topic description, but this is, let's say, broader issues that goes beyond the scope of today's discussion. And secondly, another hurdles that we have identified is the difficult in established contacts, for example. Even when STEM researcher wants to involve SSH experts in their proposal, they often struggle to find them, to understand which actors to reach out to, or even where to look for them. And many of the STEM researchers we interviewed who had a successfully involvement of SSH partners relied on their existing networks. They already know, for example, some SSH researcher, and they contact them directly. And the third point that I would like to mention relates to the actual implementation of SSH collaboration within the project. The key message that I would like to convey as a part of the SSH integration competence team is that the collaboration between STEM and SSH must be meaningful. It's not enough to include, as the Mr. Stryker mentioned before, it's not enough to include SSH researcher in the project consortium just to tick a box and formally meet the topic's requirement. So it's all, yeah, from my side.
Thank you very much for this additional thoughts that are complementing what said Professor Pitok and Professor Stricker. So basically, yeah, I see that Mrs. Campo Donico is raising her hand. So I think that you also have something to add here in this nice discussion, please.
Yes, thank you very much, and nice to meet you to all. I have to say that first, I really appreciate what Professor Murray said on SSH being fundamentally about people, and I completely agree on that. And that's actually, this is the key point that is holding us back. People are not meaningfully involved in most of the industrial or digital innovation processes. I understand that especially for early stage research or fundamental research, data modeling, material science, it's really hard to consider how to involve the users in the research. But so this is understandable. But what has happened is that this is usually used as an excuse to completely disconnect some sectors from the innovation, from the real world and the actors that actually and the context they operate. And even when this is considered, we see more and more that the users are only limited to the final users, the average citizen that may use the final end result, missing every step and the earlier step of the value chain. So the implementers, the SMEs, the startups, or the service providers that actually will take this innovation to the market or integrate it. And this is really a lost opportunity. I also think another barrier, and I agree on the analysis that Mr. Zauro was presenting on the STEM and SSH, on being separated. And indeed, this is a recurring problem, but is also a way many times the necessary integration of SSH is brought into topics instead of changing the mindset of considering them as equally important. This is also something that we see on these necessary flags, and they are it's also true that it takes time for these two for these two disciplines to work together and start finding the common language. But it's also, we need to remember that there are already environments and arena like the Living Labs, but not only, where these different disciplines are already working together with actors that operate as orchestrator and facilitator to facilitate the dialogue. So this is really, and where the users, all the users, are brought together in the long term. So that's surely an important point. And the trust, the mutual trust, is a very important aspect, that when it's not reached and approached only here and there for the specific project and specific activity and not build on a long-term relationship, it's endangering the real participation of the users all along the value chain.
Thank you. Thank you. And finally, dear Rasa, please, your inputs on this question.
Yes, I can agree to our earlier speakers. I just think it's about different worldviews, you know, between the technical experts and SSH experts. And we all know that like technical experts, you usually think, at least we are dealing, you know, with the companies who are undergoing digitalization processes. So the usually technical experts think that design, develop, test, implement, sell. That's it. And then it is, we all know also about the valley of death. When moving from the stage of test to the market is very difficult. From TRL 3 to 6 to 7 and 8 is completely difficult because of lack of HHS insights into the whole process. So usually social science experts, they only are involved as a separate KPI, just to tick the box. And then this is what usually the result or outcome is not very satisfied, you know, that people are not using to use the technologies which were developed and similar outcomes. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So there is a very nice discussion going on. Thank you for that. And again, we have a discussion in the chat, so it's also very nice. So we just thought about this, I would say, first part that covers that's holding us, what is holding us back. And now let's move to the second part. What's working actually, or what could work? Yeah. So the question would be in this case. And just your thoughts on how can you share like a specific case or cases where this SSH positively impacted an industry digital project or policy, and what does successful SSH industry digital collaboration looks like or could look like. Of course, we will have some great presentations after the coffee break, but just tell us your initial thoughts and your opinion on that, and maybe Naomi, you could start here from this practical part, you know, because you are in the Net for Society project, have a lot of experience with those projects, etc., and then we move on with the other experts. Yeah.
Yes, I'm really happy that today there is also Mr. Stryker, since he's one of the project coordinator I interviewed for the Net for Society activities. And indeed, yeah, as for the first part of the question, so specific case where SSH positively impacted an industry digital project, I would like to mention the ShareSpace project, since, for example, in this context, SSH experts were not just consulted for a basic compliance check or ethics clearance. Instead, philosopher and ethics, talking with Mr. Stryker, I had the pleasure to notice that philosopher ethics played a strategic role in broadening the ethical reflection around technology being developed. But I will not go into detail, since I think that Mr. Stryker could explain us better his experience. Instead, as for the second part of this question, so namely, what does a successful SSH industry digital collaboration look like? I would say that a true successful SSH industry collaboration is one that starts from the very beginning. In other words, it's a collaboration where SSH researchers are involved from the early stage of the project, the proposal design. This allows researcher questions to be developed jointly whenever possible, or at least ensure that SSH researcher can clearly define from the outset what contribution they can bring to the project. And secondly, building on what I mentioned, a successful SSH STEM collaboration in the, let's say, in the cluster 4 topics context is one where SSH researchers are actively engaged in the proposal and in the project. They should not be seen as mere validators of the technology or as a partner included simply to comply with the topic requirement. Ideally, the project should include, for example, SSH work packages, or at least ensure that the SSH involvement, also in more technical and technology-driven work package, for example. And in line with this, I would also it would also be beneficial to plan for SSH deliverables, or deliverables that are at least involve SSH contribution. For example, some coordinators we interviewed shared that where possible, they developed a joint deliverable or organized collaborative communication and dissemination activities. Or I don't know, the project promoted also co-authored scientific publication. So to summarize, I think that a successful SSH STEM collaboration is one of that is established from the earliest stage of the proposal and meaningfully integrates SSH perspective throughout the project.
Thank you very much, and maybe Professor Stryker, you could also continue with your thoughts and discussion, because Naomi mentioned you, so you have this perspective and overview from the inside of the project. So maybe you have some practical well, additions as well. Of course, you will present more later, but just some initial thoughts as well.
Yes. So maybe I can explain a little bit our approach in ShareSpace. So ShareSpace was the concept of ShareSpace is very futuristic, that you speak with virtual avatars and you can share, and it's a social group. And we spoke even about hybrid society, where you have real humans and you have virtual avatars close to you in your real environment in augmented reality. So, and that's of course, if you think about this technology and with AI behind it, it's not science fiction anymore. It's possible to implement. We're implementing it, of course, to a level of maturity. That's was a little bit at the same time scaring in a way. What does that mean for us? What does that mean, the relation to the technology? Is that a society that we want to have? Do I want to interact with someone as an avatar close to me? And what is my relation then with the virtual avatars? And if these virtual avatars start to be autonomous, yes, what a question, that's right. So what we did in this project is super interdisciplinary. So we have people from cognitive science, action science, medical doctors, because we have concept or prototypes and pilots on health. We have people, of course, technology-oriented people, so computer graphic, computer vision, and of course, core AI people. And we added philosophers and anthropologists to start from the beginning to think about it. So we define a vision of the project, and they work from the beginning of this vision of the project with a glossary, as I say. And then they were involved in all the different work packages and were interviewing the scientists inside. We're thinking, okay, is that the right approach as we are doing it at the moment? And the basic idea was to start with ethic by design, so to integrate ethics along the full process. And through the project that starts to change a little bit. And we came, or they came, this philosopher is Professor Kathleen Richardson at the end of the project, or at the moment in the project, with a new concept of introducing ethic in technological development. And they call it good enough ethic, like good enough ethic coming from the good enough parenting philosophy or approach. So what is technologies that will work and what are maybe an ethical dimension around it. So that was how we did it. Also, what was very important is to have different use cases and prototypes at a very early stage. So we try to demonstrate the technology almost at every meeting so that the people understand it. I can explain it to you, but you have to wear a head-mounted display and see a virtual avatar to see how it works. So that was the first things we really try to push. And then also the development stages were not, linear, and from the beginning to the end of the project, we introduced different iteration. So in the middle of the project, we had prototypes, we did pilot trials with end users, and then we collected that and analyzed that. And then we had a second iteration of the technology development. I think that was very, very important. So from the beginning to show the technology, not just explain, but let the people experience it, and then have different iteration where you can correct and so on. Because it's only when you start to try the technology that you understand the impact, I think. I can show you video, pictures, and so on, but if you see it. So that was, I think, I stop here.
Yeah, it's a very valuable overview and like a look from inside of the project. So more about that we will hear just after the coffee break. So thank you, Professor Strucker, and I see that Professor Pytok also wants something to add. So please.
So I think there are three case studies I'd like to spell out. The first is which is part of the technology of the company that's being spun out now, but previous iterations of the technology have led to the most successful VR heritage company. Fabian Baratta is CEO of Excuro and was just at Cannes last week, who done a number of big VR experiences, perhaps most centrally for this audience tonight with the Impressionists, which opened at the Musée d'Orsay last year. But also this has created a new business. They're about 50 million euro from 3 million visitors is his income, so the income so far of the company. But the issue is this has created a new business model, which is that Excurio's model has found a new model for VR technology, which fades very quickly, in the sense that big exhibitions, with the Musée d'Orsay one has just covered its costs, more or less in the first season, go on tour. So the margin when they go on tour is very significant. So I'm familiar with work in this area. This work is an exact place where SSH and coding and technology meet, and it's one with considerable space. The next thing I would highlight is the issue of tourism and psychological income. So the first major economic impact assessment of a single cultural figure done in Europe was the 2005 Mozart impact, in which the Austrian government, but also TU Vienna and the Vienna University of the Arts were involved. That impact case study lies behind Austria currently being the state with the highest proportion of cultural tourists in Europe, followed very narrowly by France. Cultural tourists on average spend 40% more than the standard tourist because fundamentally they have more money and they stay longer. The uplift in GDP in Vienna alone is 10 billion euro. And I've myself done one of these EIAs in a Scottish context. What I can say is that they make a significant difference immediately to cultural tourism and government policy. Not as successful as the Austrian version. The Mozart EIA is the standout, but it is a major contribution. And the current exclusion of tourism from Framework 10 shaping discussions is to be regretted in that context. The third element I would choose would be defence. And that's for example, the Scottish Council for Global Affairs has changed the nature of cybersecurity investigation and profiling and framing in the UK, and in following our recent seminars in Chatham House in London and the creation of the National Security and Defence Policy Database. And one of the current things that we would want to be engaged in from Scotland in any Framework 10 horizon looking at is comparative studies of the effectiveness of, to be blunt, procurement and equipment supply in rearmament. Because if you don't understand those things, then having defence-oriented STEM research is not going to actually get you the value for the limited spend that you've got. So, I mean, more detail on that is readily available elsewhere. But just to give you 3 clear examples of why SSH is critical to framing the right outcomes for European society.
Thank you, Professor Pytok, and please, Mrs. Campodonico, have a say about this question as well.
Thank you. I don't have a specific example that, as the other colleagues, what I'm representing is, of course, the expertise of the network at global level of Living Labs. And this is exactly what I can bring that is working, because we need to go beyond thinking a specific project. So having SSH and STEM or different disciplines, all different disciplines, and the user working together only for the specific activity, the now and the most urgent aspects. But we really need to bring a longer term collaboration. And this is where the Living Labs come from. So this is the positive example I can bring. So stable Living Labs, stable structure that have a long-term and stable governance model, business model, and really have a value for the ecosystem they operate with. This has been demonstrated to be really valuable. We see, for example, that Living Labs have been in Horizon 2020 already recognized as a best practice for social science SSH research infrastructure. So these indeed Living Labs can be recognized as a way for providing access to users for or access to research infrastructures. At the same time, now there are more and more recognized as emerging technology infrastructures in the European research area. And this is really because they don't separate the people and the technology, but they bring everything together. We also see that many times Living Labs operate as incubators. So they help the startups, the SMEs, and really refining their business, giving the access to all the different needed users that are involved through a long process of trust building and collaboration building, and really where the users have their inputs recognized. And this is a value because then we can have access to this type of data for the research, also from the more technical research, and therefore contributes to faster innovation cycles, stronger customer insights, improved adoption, real sustainability, and many other inputs. And we see this has been working more and more in many sectors. So from the digital health, water management, we see, for example, living labs operating on desalinization, smart cities, digital twin, agriculture, soil analysis, and so on. So it's really a cross-border sector. And I was also seeing in the chat that indeed we need to go beyond the usual suspects also on the SSH. So stop limiting SSH to the usual suspects, but really have the broader disciplines considered for every step and not only for disseminating and calculating the potential benefits and profit of a solution.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Julia. So we need to go further to the other question, but maybe one remark from my side. I liked very much Mr. or Mrs. Harris' comment about that we usually keep talking mostly about the ethics, yeah, but sometimes we miss this approach with the other sciences like philosophy, literature, and others. So this point is also very, very, valuable to keep in mind again and to discuss about. So if you have some thoughts about it, we can still discuss. If not, maybe we will have some time in the end. Yeah, there are some comments to Professor Pitox and the others in the chat. So maybe we will go to this point in the end. And now just let's go to the third part, I would say, of this discussion, if it's okay with you. So we went through the what's holding us back, what's working, and the third part that I see, of course, we can complement this discussion with other thoughts, but the third part would be what needs to change. So what kind of support or incentives are needed to scale up SSH industry digital collaboration? How can Horizon Europe networks like NCPs and NOLL help? Also, how, let's say, chambers of commerce here can help as well. So maybe Rasa could start here and then we'll continue as usual. Yeah. Rasa? We can't hear you. Yeah, take your time, it's okay. Maybe someone, yeah.
Okay, thanks. Okay, yeah. Well, business associations, I think, can do a lot depending on their resources. So they can, facilitate participation in Horizon calls for SMEs, help them to understand the eligibility criteria, priorities. Also, to disseminate Horizon Europe's priorities, to translate complex European Union priorities into business relevant opportunities for companies. Also, business associations can help align local and regional innovation ecosystems and their priorities with the European research and innovation policy and agendas. I also based on our experience of our organization, we also trying to encourage cross-sectoral collaboration as well between academia, industry, and encourage companies to integrate SSH expertise and then promote cross-sectoral collaboration. Also, assist consortium building and matching activities to help the companies to or act as a cooperation brokers for the companies in terms of finding cooperation partners across Europe, because we are quite well networked within European networks and public social partnerships across Europe and other business associations and other European organizations. So this field is also very important for companies to be more active at the European research and innovation area. So I think this is from my insights. Thank you.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Sorry. So thank you, Rasa, and I will ask Professor Putok to continue with his thoughts. I see something written in the chat, but still, maybe you could say it. Yeah.
Sure. I was just, if I don't, since I've got another meeting to do at 11:35, I don't get to the end. But I mean, there are those more experts than me on Horizon. But what I think the critical, there's a critical risk here, and I think the critical risk is that Framework Program 10 fundamentally creates less room for SSH than currently exists, and that we don't articulate why there should be more adequately enough. And I do think that looking, for example, at the recommendations for productivity innovation and 6 European common goods in the Draghi report, and the economic growth and weaknesses, skills and education, social and economic inclusion 2, 4, and 5 in the letter report, focusing repeatedly on reports which, whether or not they'll be implemented, have got significant currency in the discourse, is one of the things that we need to be doing. So the issue is not here, can we do better? We can do better, but actually what the risk is that we may find ourselves overtaken and effectively excluded from Framework 10 unless we focus on reasons why we should be there. The other thing I'd like to just, I agree entirely with Rasa's comment about chambers and commercial organizations. I think participation of higher education institutions in those is a really important part of naturalizing and socializing the concerns that we share in terms of regional development, national growth, and facilitating international trade and the exchange of ideas. And I've certainly found it very useful, and I think it's one where there's often a great deal of welcome from people who often have the same background as we do, but who enjoy greater credibility with the STEM community than we always do.
You're muted.
Muted.
My apologies. I would like to ask Professor Strucker. We talk now about this possible help from various networks and again platforms and organizations. So have you had any help where before the project when you just we're building this consortium and trying to attract SSH experts and trying to understand what should be put it in the application, etc. So your experience.
Yes. Yes. I think as a technology developer, the choice of the SSH partner is crucial and very important, depending on the technology you develop and your goals. I mean, it can be more, social science, user experience, and these kind of things, up to philosophy or ethic. So I think that's very important to be clear, or to have a clear view of what is needed for this project, for the project you develop, in order to find the right partner in this development that agree with the goals. That, as I say at the beginning, it's not just about the checklist. I have a partner for SSH. I will do the 4 or 5 points in the evaluation. So to find this, and then. So, and here platforms and the national contact point and so on can really help, but it's really a problem of profile. I know projects, it doesn't go well just because they don't have the right profile. They have lawyers, but they need this. They have people who wants to do philosophy, but they need use because technology people maybe do not understand what the fitting profiles they need. And then I think the next important step to make it successful is to build a relationship between the two community, and that's And that's not also automatic. It's something you have to develop and so on. But that's in the project itself then afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So the matchmaking is important.
Yeah. Of course, there are many ways to help, and maybe Julia will comment on this from the annual point of view. So please.
Yes, thank you. Indeed, this is a good hint for what for my point on what needs to change is do not reinvent the wheel. So there are communities, established communities all across the world that already provide this this frame for bringing the communities together from STEM to SSH, but also not forgetting the users and the public sector and the private sector. So don't forget about that and use the living labs as much as possible. Where necessary, you can think of creating new living labs. So starting to from your project and go long term, but really try to use the benefit of the tested methods, the settings, the lasting partnerships, and recognize them as a key tool, as a key infrastructure to support your SSH integration and your more human research and innovation.
Thank you, and maybe I will ask then Noemi to maybe say some words and compliment other experts about again that help from the Net for Society, of course, but at the same time to maybe elaborate more about how could you know, the project, the company be aware of those various platforms, and how not to be confused of the load of information, you know, that you're getting from the European Commission on the national level, etc. Because here is also a bit of challenge to understand to the newcomer which way, which platform should be used, etc., etc. So maybe it's a question for all of you, but Noemi, you can start. Yeah.
Yeah. First of all, as NCPs, let's say, I think that we have a key role in supporting SSH integration, of course, by encouraging the reflection on the SSH dimension of research topic. On one hand, let's say we have to ensure that applicants clearly understand, as you said, Davidas, also when and where SSH integration is expected, and also maybe as I don't know, NCPs from other clusters can support us in making them aware of the make applicants in more technology fields aware of the benefits of this cooperation. Secondly, of course, the dialogue is crucial. We must keep in mind that these researchers come from very different worlds with distinct mindset, and they don't naturally connect each other. So we have to help, of course, to bridge this gap. And thirdly, but this has already been said, new opportunities for interaction must be created, I think. One way to do this, of course, is by organizing events, workshops, and so on. And to answer to, let's say, the second part of your question, as Net for Society, we try to make we try to make our part in connecting SSH communities with STEM. So as I quickly mentioned before in my presentation, for example, there are SSH integration brokerage events. The next one will be planned in the second half of 2025, and thanks to this event, SSH and STEM can meet and discuss around topics of both common interest. Furthermore, we draw up SSH opportunities document. So as I mentioned before, this document maps out all Horizon Europe calls across different clusters that explicitly requires SSH participation. So the aim of this document is to make easier for both NCPs from other clusters and applicants to identify relevant funding opportunities and working on it. This document is available and downloadable on Net4Society website. And beyond this, we also, let's say, monitor the collaboration opportunities. We try to keep track of collaboration opportunities between STEM and SSH researcher in European partnership and other initiatives. So every month we publish on Net4Society website SSH relevant calls, ensuring that researchers stay posted about potential opportunities for interdisciplinary cooperation. And last but not least, we try to inspire action as we can. So we have developed some fact sheets showing case successful SSH and STEM collaboration in order to offer also concrete example and provide, I hope, inspiration on how integrate on how collaborate. I don't like the word integrate, but how SSH and STEM can collaborate and yeah. And also these fact sheets are available on Net4Society website. So I really encourage those interested to take a look at our website and navigate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a practical point of view. And Professor Pitok, do we still have you for 1 or 2 minutes?
For a couple of minutes, yeah.
Great, great. So maybe I could go. You can, of course, add to this question, but I also would like to ask one of the final questions from my side, if I may. So it would be like this. So just share your thoughts for the takeaway. What is this single most important thing we need to do next to strengthen the connection between SSH and industry digital sectors, you know? So yeah, if you could just complement your thoughts that were said before to this question, it would be a very nice overview of our great discussion. So please, Professor Pitok, you could start, of course.
Okay, well, I put something in the chat which I'll leave as the full takeaway. But what I would say is there are many, it's been outlined by Naomi and others, many formal ways of engaging with different partners in industry and elsewhere. I think myself that I've found most effective that socialization through joint regional projects. I mean, I've experienced that myself, but I talked about it at Sapienza as well, in joint projects in Rome involving the university and external partners, and also the chambers of commerce. Very important to actually have some social time and engagement, as well as events engagement with interested parties in SSH, and try to get people who are significant leaders in SSH in your institutions into those events and into the membership of those organizations, because they will develop those sorts of discussions. And I mean, there's a whole range of other things you can do that can be done from student internships to invitations for jointly for politicians and industry and potential industry partners locally. All of those things, or indeed major research launches which are pertinent to particular areas, not least in digital. But I think those sum up my basic views: is be open and get together, because it's person to person, ironically, but truly for all of us, which makes the difference to interacting with those in STEM.
Thank you very much, Professor Pitok. And I'm heading to Professor Strucker now to continue with this last question.
Yes, I like a lot what you just say, Mary. Be open. So I think we really should continue to work on this common events and bringing the two community in common project, especially today. I think it's quite important. And I think, yes, the relationship and the view of each field on the other one is the main issue. So from a technological perspective, it's not just a checklist, not being compliant, but it should be common work. And yes, but that's the core of that is to build good relationship between the two communities.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Julia, could you also say a word?
Thank you. So I think, of course, supporting what the colleague said, but I would like to add that we really need to stop separating people from the process. So bringing together people, disciplines and sectors, including the digital and industry, and starting to copy from other sectors where this has been done already, but also making sure that each voice counts. The tools are there, we just need to start using them, and living labs are just one of these tools.
For sure, that's true. Yarasa, please.
We think that the current approach of SSH in involvement in the Horizon Europe or model is quite satisfactory. I think we have to continue that way, but better integration within the working packages, project groups are required to take the whole or to use the whole benefits of SSH can offer. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, dear Noemi.
Yeah, what to say? I fully support this idea of not dividing people and also organizing events where these let's say two different communities at the moment different, but in any have to work together. So I was thinking that maybe let's say further effort, could be done in organizing, I don't know, co-designing workshop, thematic labs that support SSH and STEM, explore shared question, define joint goals, and see also that each other counts. I think that the early engagement is the main elements that have to be taken into account, since this can build trust and leads to more meaningful integrated collaboration.
Thank you very much. So that brings our panel discussion to a close. Thank you to all our speakers for sharing your experience and thoughtful perspectives. But this is not the end. Let's have now a 10 minutes break and let's meet at 11:50 CET time. I will share slides with the time, because after the break we will see three very practical examples from three projects that will share their experience again, that will share their challenges, benefits, etc. So, okay, so welcome back to the practical part of the event, where three SSH integrated Horizon Europe projects will be presented. And again, as I said before, this is a great opportunity to hear directly from the project leaders themselves, insights straight from the source of how SSH are being successfully embedded in real research and innovation initiatives. So I would like to ask Professor Didier Strucker to present the ShareSpace project. Please, Professor.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm gonna just share my screen. Is it okay?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, perfect. Yes, so I'm going to present a little bit share space, give an overview, and then also give some insight about what we are doing and how we integrated or develop a new, maybe even a new framework for ethical approaches in technology development. So share space is about embodied social experience in hybrid spaces. We say hybrid spaces if it's real and augmented environment or virtual environment. And what we look at is, or what we want to develop is the technologies that allow people at remote location to interact together, but this time not just over video as we are doing now, but over a virtual avatar. So what you see here also on the picture is a real person, but around him in a real environment or in a virtual environment with virtual avatar. So it's a group of persons and they start to interact together, doing some common activities. And we were interested in the sensory space, so how we perceive other action and how people react with an avatar. And as you know, up to now, avatar are very robotic-like, so we wanted to study this and see how we can improve that. So it's a very interdisciplinary consortium, quite large. We have, I will not go over all the logos, but we have people from technology and science, so computer vision, motion science, motor, social, cognitive science, hardware developers, and people from philosophy and taking care or looking at the ethic of different aspects of such hybrid society with virtual and augmented avatars. And then we have also partner for just applications, so end users. And it was important for us to not look at one area, but different areas. So we have technology and we try it in, test it in different use cases. So it's basically health and rehabilitation with an hospital, sport and art. Art was also important in order to think a little bit out of the box. So we didn't define scenario in the proposal, but we say we will invite artists afterwards to reflect on the development of the technology. So we have three fundamental aspects: motion amplification, motion synchronization between people, and then we also develop different level of autonomy of avatars and want to reflect on this. Amplification is basically, the idea behind it is when you do a gesture, that the intention of the gesture is in some features in the gesture. So if with AI, we can identify the intention of the gesture by analyzing the motion, maybe we can take this feature, amplify it to make it more easy for other people to understand what you want to say or what is the intention of your gesture. Like you want to take a bottle, before you grasp the bottle, we can detect if your gesture, your intention is to give the bottle to someone else or take it for yourself and maybe drink. So maybe we can amplify these features we identify in the motion to make easier for the other people on the other side to read out what is your intention. That's the first concept we have. And here is a cognitive science, is a professor from Hamburg.
Tamam, çok teşekkür ederim. Çok sağ olun. Tamam,
Sorry,
tamam.
I'll fix it.
The other concept is synchronization. So in a group, or maybe you know, or you notice already when you walk with someone close, someone on the streets, the pace or the frequency of your step is the same or very similar. So you get synchronized to this person. That appear also in groups. And we can show that also this synchronization can be measured. And now the question is, if you have a group with virtual avatar, how to synchronize with virtual avatar and bring these people together to have a synchronized and better connection among the people. That can be measured, and that can be also in a way amplify or make sure. Okay, that means that we have these two concepts, and then we start to work on avatar motions, and we modify the motions of the avatar. So we capture what the person is doing, transfer that to the avatar, and you meet with the virtual avatar of other person, but we may modify this the motion patterns or the motion we measure. So we introduce different level of autonomy of avatar. So a fully controlled avatar is like a little bit in autonomous driving. L1 is fully controlled. So my emotion is transferred to the avatar, and in the virtual space we meet all together. Or maybe I change something to amplify some motion to make sure that the connection between the people are ensured. So we speak about semi-autonomous avatars, or we could even imagine to have fully autonomous avatar that participate to some activity. If you do the gym, it's maybe good to have a few companions doing also some gym around you, and you get synchronized with them and can work with them. That's the basic idea. So we wanted to test this this concept in three scenarios, three real-world scenarios. First one is sport and cycling and peloton, to train better people by detecting some intention in the peloton and amplifying and training the people. Is there a new framework for that? I will go on the right to the scenario on health. It's basically rehabilitation. And here we look at pain and rehabilitation of people having pain, and how to improve adherence to doing exercises, even in the case of pain, and maybe having people synchronized together. We could show that pain is the threshold of pain is lower, so people do not feel the pain when they are synchronized together. And we are trying to move that, let's say, from real experience to virtual experience or to augmented reality experience, and see also if there has an influence of the perception of pain when you synchronize with other people. And the other one, the last one in the middle, is art. So we invite artists from outside to develop technology and develop concepts of shared space in a very large virtual environment, where you can enter this environment with several people in a group, and some people are remote, and something starts to happen. So every time is new artists that come. We have 2 calls for artists, and they participate and develop new concept on this virtual hybrid society or hybrid society. Sports, I think I will not go really in the detail, but we look at amplifications and detection of attack in a peloton, which is a crucial step, a moment in a race. And yes, so the result seems to confirm our hypothesis that you can detect this signal for attack, and we can start to work on the amplification now to train the people in such peloton. We showed the demonstrator at the Olympic game last year, and we collect data from 1,500 participants that we are analyzing now. Art scenario, it's you invited maybe also this year to come to Ars Electronica, so in Wien, close to Wien. It's a big festival, and we have shown last year our prototype, and this year we're going to have another demonstrator of different share space, and you can experience this with different avatars, start an interaction with avatars. The last one is health. Here, as I mentioned before, we work with, we are interested in chronic pain, and see how we can use augmented and virtual reality to, yes, to allow patient to exercise more and feel less pain during these exercises. As you see in all this technology, when you start to have autonomous avatar, it has an impact, of course, of the user. And here's an ethical question. If we start to scan people, create a virtual avatar, this virtual avatar is going to be half autonomous or semi-autonomous, which a lot of ethical issue appears. If I have a virtual avatar also with me, close to me, I start to interact with me, and then it's disappearing again. What is the cognitive effect also, or emotional effect? And attachment to virtual avatar seems to happen. So we develop a new roadmap, and we started with the principle of ethic by design. So we integrate the people in the different workshops from the beginning. We work on a vision and also a framework for ethic development along the project right from the beginning. It was a team of 3. Professor Kathleen Richardson and 2 postdocs who work continuously with us. They had interviews, they came to all the trials, they sit really with people observing and asking questions, and develop a new concept which is called good enough ethics. So the big question was, does tech ethic works? What's the perception from, let's say, technology people on ethic, and how does it work? And we didn't want to just be compliant to some checklist, as I say before, which is super important, of course, but start to have more reflection on this. So, as I say, we started with the concept of ethic by design, and try to integrate ethic concepts in the project development at every stages. And we show as much as possible the technology, and we share, let's say, our concern and show the potential of the technology also, maybe in predicting development state within 3 to 5 years. Yes, so the main challenge was to establish this collaboration, this relationship, and not just have, let's say, like a top-down, from our point of view, technologies, compliance or guideline to follow. So that was, I think, the main things we wanted to reach. But we wanted to see, okay, what's the impact and how should ethic ideally work within such technology development. Because I think the impact of such technology is not just about privacy, data compliance, and all these things. It has a much larger impact. So the idea of good enough ethic developed by Professor Kathleen Richardson was to base, if I may say, the ethic more on the relationship. So it's basically started the idea of good enough ethic is borrow, if you like, from the concept of good enough parenting. So it's not a top-down approach anymore, but the idea is to establish a dialogue and the relationship between, let's say, the tech people and also the different player, because not only technology people, is at the core of this relationship. And I like also the idea of good enough. So it's not a top-down approach. We should not have a perfect product, ethic compliant with perfection cannot be reached, but the relationship and maybe more also the intuition should be also part of this process. So reacting more quickly to some new trends and so on, instead of trying to have a perfect approach and control approach. So a little bit, I cannot explain it that well. I will, and we don't have the time for the moment. You can find on our website the first format, the first documents we have. We are working on further documents. There will be a workshop on in June, and of course people can join and participate. And I think they're even working on a book. So you can consider in good enough ethic different, let's say, sphere of interaction. The first one is the closest one, which is also in good enough parenting, is the family. It's basically then the value or the concept in this first sphere are basically the attachment and the trust, and which builds a relationship. And what is also very interesting, trust is not just trust about trust the technology, but it's also trust among the partners, and trust is not given. So that's something that we need to work on, and also the core of the basic work. Then the second sphere is basically the community. So starting from the core sphere, we come to a larger environment, and here the core value we identify is basically autonomy and privacy. And then if we go even to the next step, the world environment, and here is justice and responsibility as core value of the ethics. So our development is align all these different values, and the framework is ethic by design. Ethic by design concept along all this different level of let's say environment around around this. It's very targeted, and I think important new, let's say, development or a new breakdown of value, especially if we concern or if we look at aspects which are coming now also with AI, and aspect of a human relationship or virtual avatar and agent. Okay, so there will be a workshop to announce it, and you invite to join in London by the beginning of July, 2nd of July. And the topic of this workshop is do tech ethics work. So we will present this work and start to discuss it with some other professor, external people who work on governance, ethics also, and also social science in general. And thank you very much for your time. I hope it was interesting.
Thank you so much, Professor. It was very interesting how different technologies, can, let's say, work together and be ethical ones. We hope that the final results will be very successful, and it will be deployed in the market as well. My question maybe, since we don't have any in the chat so far, would be about the reaction from the audience that you target. So could you just simply, say about this part of the project? Of course, because you, as presented during your presentation, that you had already some practical ways to use this technology to use the results of your project. So what is this initial reaction from the audience? Could you say in a few words? Targeted audience that you target. Yeah.
So from my perspective, the reaction of the audience.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm always amazed about the positive and enthusiastic reaction. People really, the most challenging scenario for us is really the health scenario, I would say, because we work with people which are just because of the conditions. They have pain, they have chronic pain, and they're sometimes very far to the technology. But it was always a positive, very positive, and big interest in the technology. So that's, I think, very nice. In terms of maturity, we are pushing now the technology to pre-prototype, and we're even thinking about continuing this project towards a startup for this collaborative VR, AR platform, especially for health and rehabilitation. Also, basic idea is that you can have with some other concept as well, but the social aspect seems to be crucial in rehabilitation and adherence of patient to a rehabilitation program. And I think that's something we can manage if we add digital technology. Just by having physical session is most of the time not possible just because of cost. But the idea is that people start with real rehabilitation exercises at the hospital, and then step by step do also remote exercise from home, or participate in the same kind of virtual community. And this aspect of social connection, we want to try to put that in the center, and hope that people will. So it has been positively evaluated. Maturity is growing. So we're thinking now even pushing that one step further, doing real trials. So with not 10 to 20, 30 people, but 100 to 200 people for this rehabilitation. and adding the components, the social connection component, into this, let's say, sometimes very dry and abstract digital app. That's our goal.
Great to hear that this first reaction from the targeted audience, from possible clients, is positive. So thank you once again, Professor Struke, for your great presentation and inputs, and best of luck to your project. We will be fans of your project as well as for the other two. And the second one is the Bridges 4.2. This one will be presented by Dr. Rasa Rotomskinia, which represents the innovation expert, the Lithuanian Confederation of Industrialists. So, Rasa, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, David. Yes, as I have been presented, I'm Rasa Rotomskinia from the Lithuanian Confederation of Industrialists. And just to provide a bit of context, we are one of the biggest business organizations in Lithuania. We our members are over 4,000 companies, and it's and quite medium and large companies. So we are quite economic, have a economic impact, quite a big one in terms of our members that generate the amount of export and GDP. So we are engaged in many areas, including innovation and research, technology as well. So this is a news we are very happy about, and it's a very recent one in Financial Times about Lithuania, how Lithuania became opera's talent factory. And in the article, it is said that a country as small as Kansas is actually packing the world stages with star performers. And I think it's a good message in terms that we have an ambition, and it didn't took overnight. So we needed an ambition and a hard work and the whole ecosystem enabling to achieve this. So within the same or similar context, Lithuania, our organization, one of main objectives of our organization is to provide guidance and leadership for the Lithuanian industry and our companies in the process of smooth dual digital and green transformation. Happened.
Okay, is everything okay with the slides?
I couldn't move the slide for some reason. I don't know.
Try to maybe do it again.
Oh, I don't know. Something happened.
Okay, could you just try to upload again, just to show the slides again.
Sorry.
If not, I have a backup slides from you, so not a problem.
Okay, yeah. No, I can't move. So,
okay. Let me just have a minute and then share for the slides for you. So not a problem. I hope it will work. Okay, so can you see the slides?
Yes, thank you.
And can you see the, just a second, oh my God, it's not this one. Let me just do the, no. Apologies. Okay. Short break for all of us.
If you can move a bit further now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here, yeah.
Okay, yes.
Great. Let's
so
continue.
I just wanted to show that we are, as an organization, we are very well networked within the European networks like public-private partnerships, and business representation at European level, just to open more possibilities for our companies. So next slide, please. We have recently completed an initiative Interino, which helped our companies to integrate into research and innovation area within the European level. And also we are running one of the European digital innovation hubs with the same goal, just to provide more opportunities for our companies. So next, please. So this is the project, Horizon Europe project, which we are engaged in. And it is called Bridges 5.0, bridging risks to an inclusive digital and green future by enhancing workforce skills for Industry 5.0. It is actually a technical project. It's from cluster 4, digital industry and space, and it's about digitalization of organizations and skills that would be ready for Industry 5.0. But a bit later, I will show you the positive aspects of social sciences and humanities researchers that could bring to our project. So we are now in the middle of the implementation of the project. The consortium covers well, most of European countries, over 20 partners within the consortium, and we have TNO, a Dutch organization, which is very well engaged in interdisciplinary research as a coordinator. And within this project, we also, coming to this project as partners, we also involve 2 Lithuanian companies along to other 6 European companies, and also other stakeholders are involved in this project. So maybe next, please. Just who are not very familiar, what is Industry 5.0? It's just it's an additional, well, it wants to complement the Industry 4.0, very purely technical focus on digitalization of companies and organizations, with additional 3 elements: the human centricity, sustainability, and resilience. Maybe next, please. What is human centricity is quite interesting within this field we are working with, because there is different understanding of human centricity in different companies or different parts of Europe. So it's very interesting how the views are allied, or which points are differing. So human centricity approach is about what is the role of technology, whether it helps an employee in the organization, or employee helps the technology or is around the technology. So next, please. Another aspect is about sustainability. It's about respecting planetary boundaries in the process of digitalization of our companies and organizations. So the next one, the third one, is resilience. Resilience with all these challenges around us, like COVID pandemic and the war and all around. The resilience makes sense in terms that how much my organization is strong and resilient to all these challenges around. So next, please.
Yeah.
So, and the objectives of Bridges are very technical and skills oriented. So one of the objectives is quantitatively map how jobs are transforming and what are new and green jobs are emerging. Also qualitatively understand Industry 5.0 requirements. What does it mean for companies? What kind of practices companies need to implement to respond to Industry 5.0 challenges? The third one objective is to map Industry 5.0 skills and skill gaps at the EU level. Where the skill gaps? So the next one. Other objectives like setting up learning trajectories and training pathways using teaching and learning factors. Within this goal, all 8 companies engaged in interventions within their companies. The interventions are very technical ones, but each team also has involved social sciences and humanities representatives, to challenge the work and to be from the very beginning of the intervention to provide their views. And the fifth is to engage a range of industry relevant stakeholders and to link them within one platform or European-wide platform for Industry 5.0. So the next slide is actually just to give you a taste, because our project is still in the middle, so we're still aiming for results. We're in the middle of delivering results. But what are the questions or aspects we are dealing while implementing our projects? For example, artificial intelligence, automation, and surveillance will improve productivity or something else? This is a question within each of the company. Most technology can become surveillance technology if the wrong people have access to data. Do I know what data is being collected about me by my employer and what it is used for? And all other questions as well, like electronic monitoring may make it difficult for employees to feel safe and perform well. Monitoring greatly increases worker stress and can be break down trust between employer and its workforce. Do we still need trust between the employer and an employee? So also on the other slide, there are some
Yes.
Some questions as well we're dealing along the way. Why deployed technologies are not used by company workers? They are developed but not used because employers, they don't want the way it was developed. Just because we can do something technologically, does it mean that we should do it? Or when we talk about data issues, do we talk about technology or about our human rights? Shall a worker keep up with the pace of a robot or vice versa? And what is the human factor in cybersecurity? Can an advanced technology outperform malicious intent of a neglected employee in your organization? So all these different issues are discussed within our teams while we are implementing our interventions, and the discussions are quite interesting. And I think this is the value that some SSH researchers bring to our teams. So if we see the next slide, like key summarizing points, that SSH are essential in the process of industry digitalization. Most digital technologies can only be successful or productive if they are implemented in the right way. And to do this, you need SSH understanding of the organization, because it helps understanding human societies, cultures, behaviors, and examine human interaction within social systems. So bridges being as a very technical and skills-oriented, identifying skill gaps, we see the added value of SSH aspects and the questions researchers are raising, a very valuable asset for the project as a whole to broaden our view and to make our technical and technology-oriented solutions that are being developed more valuable in terms of of how they will be used later by the users and target groups they are intended for. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Rasa. It's more like an industrial approach to the SSH, and you raised a lot of questions because this project is somewhere in the middle, but still it's very nice to see that a lot of partners, and especially those from widening countries, are in this project. And basically, I just could imagine and suggest that when you will answer those questions, it will also contribute very much to all the SSH question. So thank you for that. And maybe just one question, because we are a bit ahead of our schedule and we still have one valuable project to present. One short question about how difficult in industry to, attract those SSH experts. I mean, to connect them, in this field, because before we have like digital sector, here is more like industry sector. So just a short remarks from your side, if you may.
I think just because our coordinator is the organization that has a long track record of interdisciplinary research, which tries to integrate technical and social sciences and researches within teams from the very beginning of the project, and from the very even in the process of writing the proposal. So it wasn't, I think, very, very difficult, but we see that there are challenges when we come all together and we try to talk in different languages, technical people and social scientists. So you have to have a vocabulary or listen to each other very well and have people, some kind of interpreters to understand each other. So
That's
but
for
it's very
sure.
interesting, actually.
That's for sure. And we hope that this project, Bridges for 5.0, will be that bridge that will guide technical people to social humanities experts, etc. So thank you once again, and stay with us. We still have one presentation. So last but not least, I should say, we will have some magic, I guess, now. So please, Dr. Günther Halze, present the Magician project. I just will say that Dr. Günther Halze represents Lund University and works here as an associate senior lecturer. So please take us to some magical place.
Magic, yeah. I will try to do some magic during the overtime here. First, thank you for inviting us. And like you said, I'm not the project coordinator. That is Daniel Fontenelli. But I will do my best to just, give you an introduction of the project, what we have done and what we will do. And a little bit about my background, because I have both technical background and I am kind of the interpreter of this in this project. So my background, I've been very technical in the beginning. So I started work at Ericsson year 2000, and it was really safe zone because we only talked about technology, and I mean humans. I don't know, we didn't care about the humans. We just focused on the technology. 2004, when I moved to Sony Ericsson, I started to work with the user interface. Suddenly I get in touch with people and designers. And like we have already mentioned a couple of times, they talk different language, or they can use same word. They were talking about designing the UI, and when they were saying the word design, I was designing my own software. So it was like a really colliding back then. And maybe, I don't know, I mean, some of these people are, some of the audience might be a little bit older, so they maybe have seen this kind of phone, because when I present this to my students, they're like, what is this, a museum or something? But anyway, 2011, I moved to Sony in the technology office, and this is where I start to work with augmented reality and virtual reality and 3D interfaces. So I will contact, and I've tried to get connected with a lot of the people here, but neither, I will contact you about some VR stuff. yeah, when I finished my PhD, I liked the title, In Your Face. And now when I'm working at Lund University with the Magician project, High Horizon projects, which is about warning pregnant women for heat, when there is a heat wave, to warn them during pregnancy. And then I also have my own company, and I'm also involved in a startup about smart glasses. So back to the magic or the Magician project. So, the idea with the project or the challenges with the project is that, all of us want nice cars, right? So the production should be top notch. And at the same time, this part at the end especially is done by humans and can be both physical and cognitive demanding for the workers. So the objective is, okay, can we help? So it's not about replacing, but to work together with the human and develop some solution to detect errors and to repair them. And this will be done by developing some model or design for robotic solutions and make the environment safe and to reduce the physical strain for the workers. And this will be followed by human-centered approach. And this is often used in all different projects. We're just throwing out these words like, we will work in human-centered approach. And I will get back to that a little bit later. So this is a main idea of the project. So one robot that uses sensors for visual to detect, but also tactile. So they will put some sensors that will try to detect if there is a dent on the surface. And then there will be another cleaning robot or that will have like a grinder to be able to fix some errors. So the approach is human-centered, and the use case is basically to put this the robot that we will take into Tofaş, which is a car company that are producing the cars in Turkey. That is the goal, to put it in the factory production line. And some of the requirements, since it will be together with the humans, we need to know where the human is. So we need to track the human to not hit, but also we're using the tracking to see or record, okay, how are the workers moving? How are they searching for errors? So to allow the robot to learn from the movements. I'm just trying to go through as fast as I can because of the overtime here. So with the impact potential, we are having like an innovative robotic component for mechanical working operations, allowing human-robot collaboration. So the idea is to improve the productivity in the manufacturing, improve the health and safety conditions, and this will also be strengthened basically with AI to, like I said before, to learn the patterns and maybe recognize some error is appearing in a special area, and maybe the robot will check that area and the human can continue. This is the some of us, but the partners. It is a 4-year project. We started October 2023, and we have 11 project partners. And the case is, like I said, the car industry. And the partners here, Stellantis and Tofaş, they are the car production companies. We have the Istituto Italiano di Tecnologia. They are also working a lot with robots and are helping with the integration. Altena is also a robot company, but they are making robots for automation, big robots, not cobots. People is from Netherlands. They are working with the AI. Or from Greece are doing the computer vision, and they're expert in that. The Harms Vendor, they are working with the sensors for vending machines from Germany. And Steinwest Europa Centrum is also from Germany, working with the communication part together with Zabala. And Lund University, where I am, we are working on the human-centered part. with the users, and Tofaş is where the robot will end up then. So the objective for the work package that that Lund University is involved with is about deploying this user center. So we have this challenge to always, kind of not allowing the technicians to just run away, but to listen to us. And it is a bit challenging because everybody is also eager to do their stuff. But we also have the responsibility to involve workers, managers, and union representatives working in multidisciplinary teamwork and conducting social and physical impact evaluation. And that will be done when we have the robot later. So we have a really center role in the project. So all the, work packages, we are kind of pushing and telling how we're defining the use cases. We have also written a user requirement based on data that we have found from literature study that we did in parallel with like a baseline analysis, doing observations, structured interviews, and questionnaires. But going back from the literature study, we already found some very interesting things here. That first, the absence of transparency is a major issue. We could find that in several articles. The robot often introduce invisible work. So in the production line, workers had to constantly, maybe monitor cobots or adjust their current workflows, clean up maybe after the robotic, which is kind of, like I said, invisible. It's not shown. So this could actually, while we're trying to help, it could also give more work for the workers. And like the work responsibilities and hierarchies can shift. And the trust in robots is built through clear communication and fit with existing routines. But how that works, there are several challenges there. And the skill development. So the idea is with this cobot that it will hopefully upskilling the workers, but is the tools there? All the material that is needed to learn and how to upscale the workers. Like I already mentioned, we did this for the baseline. We did it at Tofaş, the observations and the structured interviews by the workers and developers and managers. So I interviewed 9 managers, 12 operators or workers, and 5 developers from Tofaş and 5 from Altenay. And we also handed out a questionnaire, a NASA telex. I don't know how familiar you are with the NASA telex, but basically it tries to measure the perceived physical workload and mentally workload. So the key takeaways from the observations, it is very collaborative, but very specialized roles. So there are 3 persons working around the car, checking and trying to find errors. So they both visually look at the car, but also move the hands quickly to feel it. And it's amazing how, small, very small dent, even that they are telling me that here is a dent, I cannot see it and I try to feel it, it's really hard. So they have specialized this being able to detect, and they're doing it very fast. And but at the same time, if someone needs to move or someone moves away, they can take over the other person's position. They do it like in the flow, very easy. But usually one person is taking the right side, one person the left side, and it's always the same. They always take the same side and being better and better and better doing that, basically. During the interviews, it was quite obvious, especially from the workers, that there is the fear of job loss, even though they are proud of working at Tofaş, for instance, always talking and the most important thing is to make Tofaş even better. And that felt, nice to hear, but you could still feel that, there is, of course, they hope it will not replace them. Like I said in the beginning, the idea is not to replace them, but of course, as soon as you talk about robot helping you, the fear is there, right? But they were also very proud of the skill of detecting, which I think is important to lift, because now we are kind of having this sensor that will also feel around the surface and try to find errors. So maybe that could be, less sensing and let the workers take the most important parts, maybe. So managers, a lot of focus for managers has been, on the productivity and quality. And, some of the managers also said it's all about money, 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 money. And in some cases, it's even cheaper to have a worker than a robot. That was also interesting. In some countries, that is the case. And developers, yeah, they focus, of course, on their part, efficiency, process flows. And some of the developers actually also mentioned the interest of, I don't know if you're familiar with Dark Factory, and see, how will this affect the industry? But it also felt that there is this disconnection between, developer and the workers. We think it's important they also meet and talk together. Some results from the NASA Telex, 27 workers filled in the questionnaire, and it was quite obvious. And we did this in 2 areas. One was the body shop, the images I showed, where they scan the car, and in the press, where they get parts, which then will be welded further down the process. And it was expected that the NASA Telex was higher for the body shop, because it is much harder work than the other part. So this is basically how it's done today. So the workers are doing, both visually and tactile or haptic, going through the whole car, checking, is the car clean? Yes, it will continue. It is documented both in paper and digitally, and then it moves to the repair station if something needs to be repaired, and then it goes into color. And if there is an error, there is a marker, they mark where the error is, and then that is also again documented, and then in the repair station they fix where it has been marked. So what we plan to add, or to this process, is both, first of all, the collaboration, that is kind of a gap today between developer and workers. So they talk, because they have a lot of information and experience of things that goes wrong and where it goes wrong and when it goes wrong. So they should talk both with the developer and manager. And the developers, there should be like an arrow to the developer here, getting feedback from the AI to be able to optimize maybe, certain areas or certain times a certain error shows up. And then the manager discuss with all the partners here and consider, of course, also the cost and so on. And then maybe no action is taken, or maybe they just fix the error. Maybe the developer continues to develop it, and then it kind of goes back to the loop. So the outlook and future steps. So yeah, we are integrating this robot now with all the sensors, but the next thing will be actually that doing some workshops, both with the workers and managers, to find what is the things that we need to continue to work with, or things that maybe what part could be more flexibility or scalability of the platform that we could add. And so we are still continuing with the human-centered approach. It was very hard, especially in the beginning, because you could feel like from the company and developers, like, okay, now they are talking. But now, after we have done all these interviews, observations, and can give them, we have a list of user requirements, they are more open to take it in, what they are. And also we had a review meeting like 1 or 2 weeks ago, and there one of the feedback was, okay, you have these requirements, now it's important that you kind of connect or link this with the technology development that you are doing at the same time. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Alza. It was also very interesting, again, approach from the industry part, but within the very big, let's say, industry, automotive industry. So again, we will wait for the results from your side. My apologies that because of the lack of the time, I can't ask you any additional questions, but nevertheless, everybody, you can approach Rasa, Günther, and Professor Stricker and just ask them questions if you are interested, you know, in the project results, or just to participate in joint calls in the future, since we have those calls opened already. Well, the work programs, I mean. So basically, we can wrap up with this magical project as well. And just a few words from my side to end this event. So thank you once again for your active participation and engagement through the day, because we had a lot of actually comments and questions in chat area. So basically, of course, special thanks goes to our esteemed speakers and panelists for sharing their valuable insights and experience again, and your contribution have enriched our understanding and inspired us to think more deeply about the integration of SSH in research and innovation. And as we move forward, let's carry the momentum from today's discussion into our respective fields, because you know, it's all about collaboration, collectivity, and synergy. So thank you once again for being part of this important conversation today. And we all, from the perspective of the NCP's projects, but not only, we look forward to continuing this dialogue and working together to shape a more inclusive and innovative future. And of course, the future of successful collaboration of STEAM and SSH experts in various projects and various sectors. So thank you once again, and have a nice day.